Hey everyone, I am so excited for our guest today. He's written 8 books. He's been involved with me in my life and a friend of mine for 4 years now. We've jumped on each other's shows. I've been on his show. He's a seasoned podcaster. He's been on my show, previous shows. We've done some trainings together, all sorts of stuff, and I know there's going to be future stuff as well. And Tom, you're going to get an opportunity here as well.
Well, Mike, you're going to have a hard time shutting me up on this episode because just the book, Loving Through Tragedy, a husband memoir, man, Jarie and I are going to really fellowship in this one. So
I know you guys got a lot in common, so it's going to be really cool.
If you're out there, you don't want to hit the button. You want to watch us and catch it. You probably want to get one of these books and send it to a friend or a family member that's going through this similar thing. So yeah, Mike, you're going to have a hard time shutting me up on this one.
That's right. All right. Enjoy the show.
Wow, we would have never believed this. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. Go out there and listen to us. So we're excited about it. We're glad you're excited about it too.
Hey everyone, welcome to Lunch Break. I'm so excited today to be bringing you my good friend that we've actually been friends for a few years now. We've done a few podcasts together. I've been on his podcast. He's been on mine, previous podcasts that we were running. And we've done a lot of interaction together in multiple different ways over the last few years. Jarie Bolander, he's here today, and he sent me a copy of his brand new book, which I'm excited to read.
I want to read it. I do. I love the title, Ride or Die.
Well, it's super cool because I'll let him explain what the book's about, and we'll get into it in a second. But there was something really special. But after Jarie explains what the book's about, I'll tell you what the really cool special part is. It really touched me. So
well, I already connect with him just through the title page, Loving Through Tragedy.
Yeah, right. And we talked about the Shield in the Front Line and what we're doing there. But I do have to say real quick before we get into the heart of the show, I'm sitting here drinking my Covenant coffee. And I was sharing with Jarie about their mission to work with the transitional foster youth. And I don't know if you remember the number, but how many foster youth is Randy working with now?
Gosh,
it's over 100. Well over 100.
I think it's like 180.
Yeah,
transitional.
I think it was close to a couple hundred. But we're gonna be promoting their stuff. They have an excellent story, but they have phenomenal coffee as well.
And, you gotta have good coffee,
right?
Nowadays.
Do you like it?
I love it.
I love it. Yeah, and we're 511 Media and some of our affiliates are working on helping him bring this online to bring subscriptions nationwide to provide more job opportunities for the transitional foster youth. So because so many of these foster youth, they come out of the foster system. Tom, you know this because you've seen it and you dealt with it in counseling and other things. They come out of the foster system and they don't know what to do. They have no life skills. They have no job skills. They been bounced around from home to home. They've had no stability for a good portion of their life. A lot of them end up in jail or drug addicts or in gangs or
their course.
Even dead or homeless.
They're marginalized youth.
Yeah.
And they never seem to get their footing. One day they're with their family, and then whatever circumstances it takes them out, and then their life is just on a roller coaster. And I love that Randy gives them an opportunity to get their feet back grounded, gives them a job, gives them an earning right at the point where society says, "Hey, you're 18, you're on your own, and good luck." Yeah.
So. If you're gonna drink coffee, and I know you do because we all drink coffee, right? Except for my wife, she's like the only one that doesn't. But if you're gonna drink coffee, you ought to support a good cause while you're doing it. CovenantCoffee.org. We'll have the link in the show notes and the address on the screen. But let's get into this. Jarie, tell us about this book.
Yeah, well, hey, thanks for having me on the show. It's great to see you again. And as Mike said, we've been talking to each other for a better part of 3-4 years. It's kind of cool to kind of bring it full circle and talk about this book that, wow, I've been working on for better part of 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's about
and the story's been developing even longer than that, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's about my late wife, Jane, who died of leukemia in 2017. Wow. And it's the story of our relationship and what it's like to have a spouse have a terminal illness and what it's like as a male caregiver to, go through those transitions that kind of hard to do on your own. And as a man, you totally don't want to talk about that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
I decided I should write some stuff down, and that's how the book came about. I mean, and she was just a wonderful woman. She died at 36, which is way too young.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's younger than my wife is right now.
Yeah. So, it's weird. I was, a widower at 46, which you're not supposed to be. You hope that your younger wife will outlive you, but that wasn't the case. And one of the things that I found is that we were going through the challenges and struggles of relationship, caregiving, terminal illness, like all that sort of stuff. I felt so alone, even though there was a lot of people around me that were trying to help. We had a great family and friends that were just, they were really kind and like they were really trying, but I had no idea what I needed, what I wanted, how to get help. And I just felt so alone. And when I looked out in the world to be like, hey, is there anything I could read or like feel that I was, someone got me? I just didn't see anything. And my philosophy is that if I make it through something tragic or life-changing and I make it past the other side, I battle the dragons and come back with the gold, so to speak, I should write it down and share it. And that's how the book came about. And, just thrilled that it's out. It turned out great. I had a fantastic editor, Brooke Warner. Just makes it
But
sparkle.
This isn't your first book either.
No, it's not. It's my first memoir. I've got 8 other books.
Oh, wow.
Very accomplished author here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Jarie, it touches my heart because when my wife was 34, she was given a illness, and we went down to Cedars-Sinai last week, and they still don't know what she has. I've been told twice that she wouldn't survive the night, and by God's grace, she survived it. So when I read the top, I get it. She has what's called a hybrid Crohn's, and it just seems to think every part of her body is against her, Yeah. And so I get when you say a man goes on that journey. Did you ever have, can I ask this, because I did, and I've shared my break point with a lot of people. And my break point happened when I went down to UCLA and I admitted my wife into the hospital, and they looked at me like I was stupid and said, "Your wife's very sick." And I'm like, "I know that. I've been in Bakersfield for 5 years trying to figure out what she has, and no one can figure it out. So now I'm here." Well, they sent me out. They wouldn't let me spend the night, so they sent me out, and I ended up on Venice Beach. And I say that God and I had it out. When I say God and I had it out, I fell into the sand, and I just had that moment where I just said, "God, I didn't sign up for this." I'm like you. My wife's 12 years younger than me, and I was like, and it was so interesting because I've shared it many a times that there are prostitutes that were standing there on, I think not 3rd Street, 2nd Street, called the cops on me. And when the cops pulled up, they were like, "You okay?" And I go, "I think I am." And they're like, "Well, the girls were worried about you." And that's how low my moment got, But it went up from there. I can say it went up from there. Nothing changed for a lot of years, even till last week. Not a lot has changed. But my wife's still here. That's the blessing for me.
Yeah.
And
how many years has that been, Tom?
20 years.
Yeah.
It's been so I understand when you say you're the caregiver. I understand it when you're looking around and this wasn't a position. I just know. Did you ever have a moment like that? I mean, just one where it was. Yeah, I
probably multiple, right?
I had multiple moments like that. 100%.
Mine, that was my Mount Everest. That was my Mount Everest, and I look back, and we've had as many victories as we have defeats, and they're just small ones, and so that's why my heart just drew there when I saw that. I was like, whoa, Jarie's been into the, like you said, I love your analogy. You've been in and fought the dragon, and you've come out with the gold.
Yeah.
And, it's one that you are sharing. So I love that. I love that.
So I got to show you something. I got to show him this.
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
story.
Go ahead.
This is so cool. So I got this. Jarie signed it for me, right?
I love that.
But you know what that signature is right there? That's Jane's signature. His late wife. So he tell him what you did, Jarie. I think it's so cool.
So I made a stamp with her signature. so that anytime I sign a book, I can sign her name too, because it's, part of her story, even though she's not here, and it's a way to remember her and kind of be a little more commune with the people.
Yeah,
You-
that's heavy, isn't it?
Well, Mike, and I think that Jarie and I probably connect here because it's one story, two different journeys, you know, and your journey's still going on, and and your journey is still here because it doesn't mean the love's gone, I mean, that right there speaks volumes to me.
Yeah.
My wife and I have 3 journals that we read. Well, actually, they're hospital journals. They look like hospital journals. We spent 46 days straight at UCLA one time, and so I collect my journals and I put them in a box, and my wife and I regularly will go back and read them to get inspired of how this young couple got through issues, and those are off limits. We're never going to read those.
Wow.
My wife and I'll say, put that one back. I mean, my wife, we lived it. My kids are like, so why you guys keep it? I go, maybe one day you'll read it. Maybe somebody else will read it. Because there were dark times. I mean, I can't tell you the prayer successes that we had. One night we had a bowel movement, and it was a hallelujah moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the simple things, huh?
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, it just.
Yeah.
My wife called me and she said, I had MBM. I'm like, what? No way. I was so excited, Mike.
Yeah.
My wife's probably going to kill me for sure.
I mean, what a wonderful, those are the moments, as you know,
Yes.
right? There's small moments of victory that just make it give you the fortitude to move on. We had the same similar situation when Jane was getting her bone marrow transplant. She was freaked out, her stomach hurt, she had all these things. She was thinking she's going through graft versus host disease. Everything's going nuts. And they go, we'll take an image, and they took an ultrasound, and they went through it all. And she's freaked out. We're at Stanford Hospital, and the nurse just looks at her and says, "You're constipated." And she's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Just drink some prune juice." We're like, victory! You did it! Because she, again,
Right.
you don't know. It's like the brave new world of what the heck is going on. I had no idea. And I think, the journals that you wrote as a couple, those are the same things that are in here. We had our text messages and the emails, and I really wanted to put her voice in there to show the love and the fear and the unknown, but more importantly, for people like you and I who went through something, if someone's in our position, hey, you're not alone. You're really not alone. You can do it.
You might need to send Mike another book because I don't know if I make it out without this book.
Not a problem. I have his address.
Just because I know how impactful your story is to others out there. Yeah.
So, Jarie, I know there was, and Tom, you can relate to this. I know there was some dark moments in there. How did you?
His is the darkest when he lost his wife. Yeah. I was only told I was going to lose my wife.
Yeah.
And I, God's grace, I didn't. That makes me feel like I won a prize. But as I was told last week, my wife's disease is not slowed down one bit.
Yeah.
It's it's still moving forward, and they're worried about a couple more things. And but we've always went down and had the appointment and left back, going, well, it's another journey, another mountaintop to climb, and you can't stop you. So I mean, the dark moments I know are there.
So how did you pull out of those dark moments, Jarie?
I mean, there's a couple of ways. I mean, I abused alcohol and marijuana for a little bit to sleep. Mm-hmm. That was the bad part of it. I also had a lot of friends and family with a really good support network. And, I'm an endurance athlete, done a lot of endurance sports, multi-day events. And one of the things that extreme sports teaches you is how to keep going through exhaustion. And there were just days, because what had happened was she got diagnosed. I had to put my startup on hold, and I had to run her business because I was the only thing paying us. And it was the only way I could actually be her caregiver. And as you know, right, hospital visits, we were in the hospital at a stretch 4, 5, 6 weeks at a stretch, right? Same thing. That's just God, is this ever going to end, And the thing I tried to do was, take it a day at a time, take it sometimes a minute at a time. There were days where I just did not want to be in that hospital room. I wanted to run away. She was just so irritating and so like would and moan about I can't do anything right, and I'm just like, get me out of here, And then some days I write about it in the book. I had this special place at the hospital, which was this, you've seen it, right? Like this little tiny balcony, like on the 6th floor. And I would walk out on this balcony and it's like, just sit there. And I'd have a vape pen, just to calm down. And I'd sit there for 5 minutes and just like take in the scenery, vape on the pen, on the CBD pen, and then like take a deep breath and go, okay, I can now face what I'm about to walk into, which is this tsunami of, when you have chemo and you're a woman, you go through pre-menopause and menopause and you get chemo brain and all these things. And she's just like,
you lose your hair,
you lose your mind too. And her hair, she had beautiful long hair. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, those are the moments. I remember my wife told me my hair's falling out. I'm like,
yeah,
I kind of figured that would happen. I don't know why she hadn't figured that out. Because she was on 2 chemo drugs, and I was like, but I mean, it was a moment. It was a moment, and I was like, okay, we're okay. They make wigs, Sinead O'Connor. I was like, I was trying to be the light side, and the light side wasn't.
Well, let me.
One time I took it out on some doctors. Jarie, I would leave the hospital. I'd get there when it opened up, sometimes before, and I got to know the guys. The guards the front guys by their names, and they just kind of wave you through. And so one day I came, and I used to always leave the hospital at UCLA like at 10 o'clock at night. And I'd walk out, and there'd be about 50 chairs in a circle. And I used to always wonder, who sits in these chairs? And so one day I got there, and I got there kind of late, not right when it opened up. And I walked in, and there's med students sitting in these seats smoking. And I walked by, and it was just that day. And I turned around, and I go, is there something that I'm missing? Smoking's not good for you. And you are UCLA's interns, and you're smoking. Am I missing something? And they're like, you're having a bad day, but no, you're not. We're going to try to kick this habit when we go through, our internship. But I was just like, I had to say it before I got in there. I just was in a bad mood. I was like, you guys, come on. Tell us the ills of smoking. And there's like 50 of you all smoking. And you're the young wealth of medical in Southern California.
Right. How
do you look at somebody and go, hey, you shouldn't smoke?
So you know what it makes me think of, and I can only imagine knowing Jarie, like Jane's being the same. I can only speak from my experience knowing Tiffany. Tiffany's like the sweetest lady. She's very driven and very motivated, but the sweetest person. And isn't it like? And I'm sure Jane was the same way. Like I can only imagine, right? But isn't it kind of crazy? Like a lot of times, like they were the ones probably to kind of help you guys through it, right?
Well, sometimes her attitude, and I want to hear how Jane was what made me feel bad about my attitude.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. She was going through it, and I'm like, she has this thing, Jarie. She won't let me. She goes, Tom, about 2 years into it, she goes, please quit asking me how I feel. Because I don't. She goes, I don't feel. I wake up and it's just easy for me. How you feeling, honey? She goes, terrible. I'm in pain all over, and thank you for reminding me of it right now. Yeah. And so we just don't go there anymore. First thing I tell her in the morning is, I love you.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing to tell her.
We've decided to squeeze every moment out of life, and I'm interested to hear that. I'm going to quit talking, but I mean, so how did you start squeezing moments out of life when she was going through treatment?
She was really actually very good at worrying about my well-being. So
wives are.
Yeah, it's because they're like, well, I got to make sure this guy survives. He's a knucklehead. He's going to do stupid stuff, right? You're married, like you're a guy. You're like, the wife makes sure we don't die. And so she was just really very good at making sure that I had the space to do things that would just reinvigorate me. Like before she died in February of 2017 for my birthday, she sent me to New York to go to this beautiful was like a writing conference I always wanted to go to. So she did that. And I'm just like, sure, I should go. She's like, yeah, you should go. This is like once in a lifetime. You love this guy, you know, it was Stephen Pressfield, you know, like all this cool stuff. And I said, okay. And she gave me this present. And, you know, it was just tough. I mean, I had the same problem you had. I'm like, I have a general bad attitude. Like I bias negative. I'm like, you know, a curmudgeon-y kind of guy. And I'm just like, this sucks. This is bullshit. You know, I was really upset. And then there were days where she would just be like, hey, you know what? Let's just watch a movie. I just want to sit here. I don't want to talk about cancer. I don't want to talk about the hospital. Let's just be together and just hold hands and just like, I just want to feel normal for a minute, you know? And one of the most, it's in the book, and it was one thing that was like, it was a touching moment, but a little bit like emotional. Is her hair was falling out, right? Mm-hmm. And she had these little beanies, right? She put these beanies on, and she had a very perfectly round head. So literally it looked like an egg. She's like, she'd always say, oh, you got a rotten egg. And I'd be like, come on, shut up, right? So she was that way, right? And so, but her hair's falling out in clumps. And I'm just like, babe, we got to shave your head. Like, we just have to shave your head, right? She's like, oh, I don't know. I go, look, and so I shaved her head. And what was weird about that was shaving your own wife's head is a little bit strange, but, you know, it looks better. And then she just lost it and broke down and cried and like, oh, I'm a rotten egg. I can't, because she had beautiful black hair. She was Taiwanese, beautiful black hair. And she's just crying. I'm like, babe, you look great. She's like, really? You know, like, and she's like, chemo brain, the whole thing. I said, yeah, this looks much better. She put the little hat on. She's like, oh yeah, I look much better. And it's instant. Like, you can imagine, I'm sure you do. It's like the step function in emotion is just like almost unbearable. There were times that she just would scream at me for no. I'm like, what did I just do? I walked in the door. That's all I did, you know? But I think the thing that was great about her, and actually what got me through it, other than the family and friends, was she cared about how I was going to be. She cared about me. Even though she was sick, she's like, hey, you know, Jarie, you need to take care of yourself. Because I was not being very good. I mean, you know, eating, drinking. I was doing all the things.
You were sleeping in the hospital.
Yes,
which
I was.
It is not made for,
no,
you know, those chairs.
No, they're the worst. You know, right?
I agree with you. Did you ever get the talk on what she wanted you to do? My wife gave me the talk after one of the times I was told she wouldn't survive the night. She did. I got one of the talks about the woman she wanted me to marry after her, and the woman she wanted to raise our girls. And I was like, we don't need it. She goes, I go, we don't need to talk about this. She goes, yes, we do, because I want a part in that. I don't want you to have the whole part in that. Right. She goes, my girls were like 7 and 4 at the time, and and so we were on the transplant ward one time, and we had missed her birthday, my birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and the nurses planned for our girls to come in. And we couldn't have flowers because it was no organic materials. Yep. There was a time that they were, in the beginning, they were hacking her away. So they were cutting off body parts, and they took out her colon. And so that's, you know, was a big surgery, but that landed us on the transplant ward for so long, and they threw us a party. And if you want to see a grown man cry, I mean, it was just, my wife
it's beautiful,
but it's those moments that you have, and you go back to them, you think they were terrible, but they were good. There was a blessing and a curse. I got a call one day from her surgeon. His name was Dr. Sack. He's the head of colorectal surgery at UCLA, and he called me, and I was in the car, and I was stupid, and I put it on speakerphone. He goes, Tom, you need to get down here right away. He goes, I don't know if I'm going to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to save your wife. And I stopped, and my little girls heard it. It was on speakerphone. And then I had to take them home, and they didn't want me to go. And so I gave them to my mother-in-law, and she goes, that's my daughter. I go, it's my wife. I go, you're just take care of my girls. And I got down there, and my wife goes, so her Dr. Sachs said you screwed up. And she goes, it's okay. I was like, I don't want to be okay.
Yeah, I want you to be okay. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
we had actually a pretty big fight about whether or not she was going to die or not. It's in the book. It's actually one of the more touching moments with a social worker when she was doing chemo, and yeah, we were going at it, like crying and yelling at each other. And this social worker came in and really talked us through this, like the emotion of it, because hey, if someone loves you and they know they're going to die, they may die, they want you to be happy. That's the whole point, right? Like, of course they want you to be happy. And she never said, like, this is the kind of woman I want you to marry. We didn't have any kids. How we found out was because she had a bunch of miscarriages. So that's how we found out. We were trying to have kids, and it just didn't work out. But she didn't say, like, the kind of woman I wanted you to marry. She wanted me to marry. She just said, I want you to find love again and be happy, because she knew that was going to be really hard for me. I was going to do all the stupid things that men do to, like, that big hole in your heart. You just try to fill it with drugs and booze. Thankfully, I don't drink anymore. I've been sober, no alcohol for 5 years. So happy about that. But no marijuana or anything like that anymore. But yeah, you're filling the hole in your heart, because, like, I wanted to feel something. I couldn't feel anything. Like, what the hell am I going to do? Jane's dead. Now what? I don't know. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. And through time and through effort and through a lot of therapy, which I still go to, and then finding love again with my fiance Minerva, just like amazingly, like, I'm so lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it. Like, I could have ended very badly. I could have been one of those guys that you read about that went over a cliff or walked in front of a bus or drank himself to death because he was so sad. I mean, I lucked out. And I think it's because of Jane's attitude about how she handled her end of days. She had grace, she had courage, she was loving, caring. At her moment, even the last week she lived, I'm like, I wish I could be that brave. She was brave for me, and I owe her that, and that's why I owe telling the story.
I think as men, as guys, like, we want to try to fix things. I think that's why we get so angry, right? Because we're like, the thing that we love the most, like, we can't control and we can't help and we can't fix it, right?
For me, it was control.
Yeah.
It was, I wanted to help and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And it was something, and I don't know if you had this, Jarie, but the medical staff was so great. I remember one day we were in there and I was kind of out. Now, mine wasn't a little balcony. There was a bridge between the old UCLA building and another building. And I would go out in the middle and just look out and get lost in my head. And I grew up in LA my younger years, and I would just sit there and kind of go off. So I know what it's like to find that place. But it was a solitude place. And it was one where I was able to, okay, here we go, And I remember sitting in there, and there was points in my wife's life that she loves to read. She's a educator. She's a superintendent of a school district, and I would read for her, and she'd say, "Tom, I'm not even able to absorb the words." And I go, "You want me to stop?" She goes, "No, I just want you to know that there can't be any test at the end of this, because she just like the words aren't absorbing." And it was and I was trying to do things to make an effect.
Yeah.
And I realized at one point that it wasn't even about that. It was just about being there. There's periods that my kids don't even remember because their mother-in-law raised them. And and so it's just I had to learn the lesson. It was good enough for me to be there to support her.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you were there with Jane, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I mean,
thank you so much.
I haven't actually walked through the door yet. And but my wife, one of the things is now is she doesn't like a lot of people to know she's sick. You've probably never ever heard her say she's sick.
No.
And that's her secret. She wants it to be ours because she doesn't want to have anybody's sympathy,
Yeah.
And both
she definitely doesn't play the victim.
Well, somebody that works for her hears this, they'll go, "Your wife's not sick."
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. but I also get the courage and the fortitude and the bravery and the like. Wow, like I want to hear more stories like that. I want to hear about people that have like looked it in the eye, like the demise in the eye, and said, "Nope, not today." Right? That to me is like the best courage that I've ever. I mean, even when Jane, again, like she knows the odds are against her, yet she still tries, and still like until the very end, and that should be celebrated. But I do understand that some people, they're more private, and I get that.
You know what it is. I don't know of something that brings you closer to a spouse or a loved one than stuff like that. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in ministry for 30 years.
Well, that's where the relationships are forged, in the trenches, right?
They are. And this is a tribute to Jane right there. This is always going to be there. And I just think about the many of people who will be encouraged by it, Jarie, because I there again, I don't get, Mike knows me, he buys me books and I read them in like in a day.
He does.
And so this one may get read in the parking lot before I go home. I don't know. But I love that, Jarie. Wow.
I wanted to ask Jarie a question because we started talking about this before we hit record here, before I think you showed up, Tom. But
I showed up late.
I wasn't trying to rub that in.
Yeah, you were.
But you're now engaged to Minerva.
Yeah.
And so how does that dynamic like work out? And the reason I'm asking is because I think there's people that might be watching or listening to this that might be in that side, because I think this can touch a lot of people.
Oh, I agree. I have to ask. I don't get a chance to talk to many people like Jarie.
Yeah, right.
And I ask these questions because I think Jane was a very unselfish woman.
Yeah.
She my wife, when she thought that any day now she could pass away, she told me she wanted to release me into life again.
Yeah.
And that was what she was doing, and I didn't understand it. But I will say this, Jarie, Mike knows this because I shared it on a podcast. We were driving home from L.A. about 2 years ago. She goes, "Hey, I want to go back to a conversation we had about 18 years ago."
I know where you're going.
And I was like, okay, I'm pretty lost on that one. She goes, "So when it goes back to you getting remarried, my oldest is 27, my youngest is 24. She goes, I think this would be a good time to let you know I want you to stay single."
Oh, wow.
And at 65, I cannot argue with her. I go, "You're not going to get any fight from me on that one." But it was just it was funny how she reeled it back in.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's just but that's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like getting back to the question about Minerva. I mean, one of the things that helped me through these dark times was, I met Minerva, fell in love again, and she is just such a wonderful woman, very kind and compassionate, and thoughtful, and I'm struggling because like Jane's died. I don't know what to do with my life. I feel guilty about even having feelings about someone else. What do I do? Jane wanted me to be happy. How long? I mean, I met Minerva, a couple of months after Jane died. Right. So it was like, it's just really bizarre. Right. So in a like my emotional state. And so the thing that she said, which I mean, this is the reason why I love her so much, and she's just such a wonderful person. She's like, Jarie, you can love more than one person. And you know what? It'd be really weird if you didn't love your dead wife. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably true. So she gave me the space to explore that. Now, I give her a lot of credit for all the shenanigans that I put her through and the bullshit. There's a lot I did was not. I could have done better. I do try to do better every day. But the thing, like when she said that, like almost giving me permission, obviously, to love again, or Jane giving me permission to love again, and Minerva giving me permission to continue to love Jane. I just felt such a relief and such a calm, because I'm going to screw it up. Like I'm a guy, like emotions a little bit weird. I could laugh about it now, but 3 years ago I barely talk about this. Right now I can talk more about it, but I was just so blown away by the love and compassion that Minerva had to really just like give me the space to be like, it's okay that you love Jane. Of course you love Jane. Why wouldn't you?
I think that'll be healing, Jarie, for a lot of our audience out there. And if you're out there struggling with it, you need to grab these words, because I think a man or a woman could walk into it with guilt, and not say it's not fair for me to feel that way. But as you're there and you've met somebody, and as I'm listening to you, because honestly, and Mike and I know about this a lot, this is therapy for me. Because last week we went down for an appointment, and it wasn't like a jump up and down exciting appointment. And we get we get one of those a year, and so we don't get to reload on that one until next year because the treatment plan's in place. And it does give you like, hey, it's like it's okay. It's okay to be human.
Yeah.
It's okay to have emotions in life when others may be going through trials.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Bible says. There's a season for everything. There's a season for living. There's a season for dying. There's a season for changing. There's a season for staying steadfast. And I think as you find those seasons, so I'm excited for your new season with Minerva. I think that's
Minerva. Yeah.
Minerva. I think that's. I think you found a kindred spirit.
Oh, I think so. I think so.
I like that. And it'd be easy to love that kindred spirit.
Yeah. Well,
probably feels natural.
Yeah. Right. And I think it's also, I had all those emotions of guilt, sorrow, exacerbated by alcohol. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to smoke pot to sleep because I was just so wound up. But, as you work through that, and again, people have their own journey. I can't say, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. I mean, like, the journey's the journey. Like, whatever your grief journey, it's your path. I think the thing I can say is just make sure that you're like making it better. Try to make it better every day and have people around you that love you and care about you. That's, I think, really critical. That's what saved me from bad situations. And
was there a time you pushed them away?
Oh, yeah.
Because in their heart, they don't know what to do either.
No.
They don't know how to console you. They don't know how to minister to you.
No.
And it's easier to say, it's okay, don't worry about it. And it's not okay, don't worry about it. You need them. I'll never forget where there was two people, Mike knows them, Josh Vietti and Ron Vietti. One night, my wife had went through a tough procedure, and I walked out in the hall to take one of those breaks.
Yeah.
And I looked down, and everything's quiet. It's about 1:32 in the morning, and how hospitals are lively at those moments. But the lights were low, and I looked down, and I saw these two guys walking in. I go, Ron, Josh? And they go, yeah, is it a bad time? I'm like, no time's a bad time. And I go, and it's so funny. There was a big guard at the front. I go, how'd you get past Jarie? I know, that was my question. How'd you guys get past him? They go, there was nobody there when we came out. And I go, well, you're lucky, because you made it up the far. But it was funny because they asked, is it a bad time? And I go, no, there's not a bad time here. Tiffany's still up.
Yeah.
We've had a rough day. We've had a rough night. Of course, when they come in, they're like, oh, she's like trying to fix herself. Oh, I didn't know I was going to get visitors.
Oh yeah.
Like,
make sure I let you're like,
Yeah. Right.
leukemia.
Right.
I'll tell one story of my wife one time. We'd always, to encourage ourselves, my wife would get on the elevator and not tell me where we're going. And I think it's the fourth floor. I think it's the fourth floor at UCLA. It's the Ronald McDonald floor. And my wife will push the button. I go, okay. And so I knew where we were going. And so we went down to the Ronald McDonald floor, and we saw the kids, 2 and 3 year olds pushing their poles down the.
Yeah.
And so she would get back in. She goes, that puts my trial into perspective. So we'd go back up to the floor. So my wife walked out of the elevator first, and I noticed the back of her gown was untied. And I tried to catch up to her and tie it. She said, Tom, if they want to look, just let them look.
Well, there's a point. You're just like, well, whatever. You've seen it all anyway. Yeah.
I was I was stressing her out because we had just got back up. She got she got readjusted, whatever she was looking for. And then I was trying to help her with modesty, and she just said, if they want to look, let them look.
So
I backed away. I was like, okay.
So Jarie, I know we're going to talk about some more and go in depth on the book and all of that stuff in Ministry Matters coming up here. We're going to be releasing. I'm not sure when the scheduling is for that, but we'll be recording it right now.
That's up to MLH Productions.
It is, but
I've been asking that question a lot.
If someone's watching and they want a copy of your book, what's the best way? What's the best way to get that?
Well, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It comes out September 5th, 2023. So you can pre-order it. You can also get it on bookshop.org if you are into independent bookstores, as Jane and I are, and Minerva. So support local bookstores. Ask for it wherever those independent bookstores are.
And if they want to reach out to you specifically, how do they get in touch with you?
Pretty much everywhere. LinkedIn is good. JarieBolander.com. I also got that. My publicists are like, yeah, you should have a website for your book. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, but okay, I have to be that guy.
You got to be that guy.
Jarie, thank you for writing this book for all of us.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Husbands that have wives that have some illness that takes their energy. And because I think you're so correct. I think this book will hit a spot. If you're out there and you're a guy and you're sitting there still saying, no, I'm good, you're not good. I mean, just guys, we know what we are. We can go back in our head. We can go back to the bad places. They need to read the book or reach out to Jarie, one or the other.
Yeah.
They do. That's one thing I just look at guys now and say, you need therapy. Because and
we're gonna go into that deep in Ministry Matters too.
I love that. So I didn't know that. So I'm spoiling all the good things.
That's all right. No, you get a little teaser here. So anyway, Jarie, I'm pumped to have you on the show. And actually, I'm trying to hold back the tears, like listening to you guys talk, like both of you guys. But
it's therapy for me, Mike.
Yeah, I bet
honestly, I can't tell you how just even seeing that when I saw the title of the book, that's why I jumped in both feet. It's hard there to sit there, and I think. Jarie, you've been there. It's hard to sit there and listen to the doctors paint a bleak picture for your wife without trying to make it, we always try to land the soft blows,
Yeah.
And,
and like, I'm her husband. Like, it's my job to protect her. I don't care what anyone says. Like, we're here together. She's going to do the same for me, and I can't protect her. That pisses me off. Like,
it's one of those emotions because we have you end up with a very intimate relationship with your physicians.
Yes.
I mean they become, you get their cell numbers, and they don't mind you using them, but when they pull up their chair and look at your spouse in the eyes, and you know that this isn't going to be the best news you've heard today, it is that moment that you have to go. There is a bigger plan at work here.
So
there is.
Jarie, do you have any final words you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I mean, I'd just say, if you're going through something challenging, make sure to know that you're not alone in the struggle. Try to just find people that can just even be with you.
Yeah.
If you are a man or someone that loves a man and is going through this, I'd really appreciate it if you read the book and maybe you can understand a little bit about what it feels like. Maybe you can help them in a little bit of a different way. And if you are going through the struggle, again, like every day you're in the fight, you're in the fight. Like just because you had a bad day doesn't mean tomorrow's a bad day. So just got to keep it on until you can't keep on anymore. And, I made a lot of mistakes, did a lot of things I shouldn't have done. Don't beat yourself up if you drink a little too much, or you do whatever get through the day. Because your loved one depends on you, and you're doing whatever you can. And as Mike said,
it's a survival instinct. Yeah, it just is. It's survival.
Well, Tom, I'm going to kick it over to you to wrap us up.
Well, Jarie, I want to say thank you for coming on because I know our audience needs this. Whether they take it at one point in every person's life, you will sit there as a caregiver. You will. I mean, it's ultimately, and it's one of the, if you can make it through whatever relationship you're in, it will be stronger because of it. Jarie, thank you for doing that. I want to say, man, I just feel like I know your wife and a little more. And it's my heart there again goes out to you, but I also know that sometimes as a writer, and I'm not a writer, you write from experience, and your words, I'm sure, and I'm going to find out, are going to probably touch a lot of people's heart, including mine. So God bless you.
Thank you.
God's using you as a tool, I can tell you that.
Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you so much.
Thank you guys for watching. Have a
Yeah.
great day. God bless.
God bless.